Welcome back to the Steel Podcast YouTube channel. We are here with another video. Before we get into it, just want to talk about some things coming up for us. The first is, we've mentioned this briefly before on our podcast, but we are part of a podcast fantasy baseball league, and we are drafting this Sunday. So that should be live on the Sunday League podcast. You'll be able to find them on YouTube. And we will be holding a draft, and we'll keep you guys updated throughout the season how we do. We're trying to bring home the trophy, but I think there's some good teams in there.
I mean, there are some good teams in there, but none of them are as good as me. Asher will attest to that. It's just not simply possible to be better than me.
Well, hold on, okay? Because sure, you're winning in a keeper league, but this isn't a keeper league. This is a head-to-head, just draft, no auction league either. So it's a different dynamic than what we're used to.
I mean, true, but I did crush you in our fantasy football league.
Okay, crush is a strong word because...
Okay, but I won.
Yeah, but year one, we've only played for 2 years. Year two was just an awful year for me. Injuries went down the drain, but I prepared myself for
injuries. Okay, you know what? This is besides the point. But I think Asher and I have a little discussion to have later about injuries.
Okay, I will just say year one, I won the regular season and got third. So.
Yeah, because you have all the. Okay, you know what? Back to baseball.
Okay,
here.
Back to baseball. We will be drafting this Sunday. You guys can check it out. But until then, we are going to be talking about the recent news about MLB cracking down on substance abuse by pitchers. Now, we've talked a lot about this. All these major pitchers use some sort of substance on their hands, on their fingertips to get a better grip on the ball, increase spin rate. That leads to higher velocities, more break on pitches. Just makes you all around a better pitcher. Some of the top guys that do it, Trevor Bauer, Garrett Cole, Justin Verlander, all these guys, probably DeGrom as well. I mean, we don't have the evidence for all of them, but you can assume that most of these top pitchers are using some level of substance on the ball. And this was kind of hidden away for a while, but it kind of really made the surface. Some guys testified. One guy for the Angels, a staff member who was supplying it to a lot of pitchers, was fired, and that made kind of waves in the media. And so now MLB kind of is forced to make a move and do something about this, and they've decided to crack down. What are the specifications of their plan?
So they're going to have guys in the dugouts checking baseballs, checking fingers. They're going to have guys in the batting cages pregame. They're going to take out random baseballs, prioritize baseballs during games. And I think the most interesting part to me is they're just going to be like running a spin rate analysis on these pitchers. And so if there's just a dramatic increase in spin rate, they're going to call into the game, say, go get that baseball, go check this dude's fingers and see what's going on. Yeah, so I that's mainly what they're going to do. And, I mean, I have some questions about this. Obviously, Bauer said he used substances last year. Are they basing his new spin? Are they going to base the spin rate off of his 2019 stats with spin rate, or are they going to do it off of 2020? Because if they base it off 2019, it's going to be clear he's using a substance. But if they base it off 2020, there's no way. It just seems like a not amazing policy at this point.
Well, I will say Bauer didn't outwardly say, he used substance.
But his spin rate increased.
Right. No, he definitely made it pretty clear, especially what he said previous to him using a substance, of all the signs to look for. He said he definitely got as close to saying it as he could without saying it. But what does this mean for guys like Bauer and Cole, who just signed multi-million-dollar contracts, some of the biggest in baseball? Are we going to see them return to the form before? Because Garrett Cole was a pitcher on the Pirates who did not overwhelm anybody before going to the Astros. Trevor Bauer, before his great season last year, I mean, he was a good pitcher, posted like a 3-something ERA, but he wasn't a top 5 pitcher. He goes to the Reds, has the season of his life. Now he is considered one of the best pitchers in baseball. Do you think they're just going to get around it? Do you think the MLB has the nerve to challenge the biggest stars in their games? Or do you think we will actually see these guys return to old form and actually struggle on the mound this coming season.
You know what? I've seen the memes of how Cole and Bauer, they're quaking in their boots, that the Dodgers have a 4 ERA, $40 million pitcher on their hands. I am very confident these guys are going to find a way to get around it. I don't know what that's going to be necessarily, but they're going to get around it. And I see no reason why they're going to stop, because I think everybody does it at this point. I mean, you mentioned DeGrom at the start of the season. He might be the only pitcher in baseball that if he's actually using substances is going to get around it at all, because he was great before, he's great now. I just see so many pitchers need it at this point to be great that if they catch a guy like Bauer, sure, they'll suspend him. Okay, he'll come back and do it again. They catch Cole, they'll suspend him. He'll just keep doing it, I think. I mean, I could be completely wrong. I don't know these guys personally, but I think if everybody's doing it, the MLB doesn't have the nerve to suspend guys. And if they do get suspended, I don't think it's going to change that much.
For me, and I want to preface this by saying these guys are not bad pitchers. These are some of the most elite pitchers in the game, substances or not. Trevor Bauer is ahead of it, not just using substances, but analytically, he's one of the most forefront pitchers in terms of analyzing his own game and using technology to take deep dives and look at all the metrics to make him pitch the best he possibly can. The issue is he also uses substances to get him that extra mile. So these guys aren't going to go out there and just be beat up on the mound like they're playing for the Orioles or something. We're not going to see that dramatic of a difference, you know? I think, personally, it'll come across as just they're not having their Cy Young level year. When Blake Snell went from Cy Young to 3.0 ERA, we didn't say, oh, something's like changed about his pitching. He's just couldn't perform. So I feel like that's how it's going to come across. If these guys stop using it, they're just not going to be considered as dominant, and it's not going to come across as a huge substance thing unless these guys get suspended and then we see a dip. Because if they just stop using it out of being scared that the MLB is going to crack down, which I think is unlikely, then it just might look like they're just not as pitching as well. Maybe we'll see a spin rate drop on the advanced metrics. But if they actually get suspended and there is a crackdown, and then we see like 5 or 6 guys who take the top just really drop down in ability, and here's what I'm curious about, is because it's not just the top pitchers that are using it, mediocre pitchers too. I mean, the majority of the league. So are we going to see an average just offense uptick? Could it be very major?
It could be very major. And I mean, I think we find out in the first week of the season. If for the first week of the season, it's just an absolute bashing of baseballs, right? And it's abundantly clear that pitchers are not using substances, and maybe Cole and Bauer get shelled in their first game or something. Then we know that this is going to be an offensive season for the ages. And I find that really interesting to anticipate. And I also find it really interesting to anticipate if these guys' ERAs balloon, who are the guys that aren't using substances, the collect few that are going to have a 3.3 ERA that all of a sudden is a top 15 spot in the major leagues as a pitcher? Maybe not 330, 350 or something, that just suddenly looks a lot better than a 350 ERA normally would. That's the interesting part to me about that.
Yeah, I think the biggest, if we didn't have evidence of what these pitchers were like before the substances, I feel like there'd be this whole like, okay, how much is this substance really doing? But we did see the crazy increase in ability of Trevor Bauer. Like, you look at those numbers, and his ERA dropped basically 2 points. So we do know how big of an impact it makes. I mean, and to say that the elite pitchers are using it is just not true. Pineda, he was just considered a decent pitcher on the Yankees, and he gets suspended for using pine tar. All these pitchers are using substances. We could see, I mean, I'm not going to guess. I don't know what the average ERA increase, but it could be very interesting. My question to you is, do you think these pitchers are using substances in spring training? Because then you would have a reference point of spin rate. If not, for me, it doesn't make sense to use it during spring training, as it's not, the games don't count. But maybe they need to practice with it. I don't really know how it works. What do you think?
I mean, I honestly, it's something you'd obviously have to ask the players. I don't know. I don't have the spin rate analysis in front of me. I will say this though: spring training is, you guys, especially in the first games, you got to have guys go out there and say, today I'm going to work on this new pitch. I'm going to work on this curveball. Need to get my changeup back in form. Just throwing fastballs and changeups today or something. I know my high school team is only fastballs and changeups for the first 3 games of like our spring training league we played. So I don't know what the significance necessarily for that is towards spin rate is, but if they're, say, working on a curveball mainly, they're going to bring out the pine tar. But if it's just fastballs and changeups, maybe it's no pine tar today. Let's make sure I got that extra velocity. I don't know. It's just something to consider, really.
Yeah, I think everybody is going to be having their eyes on the spin rate for all of these major pitchers. I mean, there was a lot of big guys called out by the ex-Angels staff member when he was testifying against the league. He was naming some. He released text messages that he had with Garrett Cole that were very clearly evidence that Garrett Cole's using substance. So you look at all these guys that are pretty elite. I mean, just to name a few of the ones that came out of Houston, Verlander, Cole, Charlie Morton, Zach Greinke,
McCullers just signed back.
Yeah, all of these guys that kind of went into Houston and had these like turnarounds in their career. I think looking back, it was probably clearly substance. So it's gonna be interesting for sure. We don't know how noticeable. Yeah, what are you gonna say?
Yeah, I will say this though. Let's say Garrett Cole, Trevor Bauer, they have something they're doing to hide it already. They got something, I don't know, something inside their sleeve or something that's really, really casual, like, oh, I'm scratching my arm. But then we get to the postseason, right? I think we both think Dodgers, Yankees, pretty likely World Series, right? And in the first round of the playoffs, they've got all these guys, and somebody catches Cole, somebody catches Bauer. All of a sudden, it's like, and then the Yankees and the Dodgers are in the World Series. It's like, well, I wanted to see Bauer Cole. Like, the MLB just kind of ruined that for me. Even if it's in the regular season, I wanted to see these guys strike a bunch of people out. Like, it's going to make baseball fans really mad, I think. Like, as a Yankees fan, if Cole got suspended, I mean, you seem pretty nonchalant. It's like, not like Cole was using steroids at this point. It's something that'd be pretty annoying for you, especially when everybody does it, right?
Yeah, for me, I have no problem with Garrett Cole using substance.
Exactly. I could care less also about Red Sox pitchers.
Yeah, I mean, I want him to win games, and it's like, it's not the best view, but when you think the entire league is doing it, you don't want your pitchers at a disadvantage. So the other thing is, like you said, it's a ticket sale thing. People go to the ballpark to see certain players play, and when you take big ticket items, especially Trevor Bauer, who is a huge fan attraction, off of the market, or even if those guys' numbers drop, that hurts as well. Who wants to see Aaron Judge bat 150? Everyone wants to see him hit 5 home runs. So if somebody's having a bad season, that also hurts ticket sales. I think it's so interesting to see how this plays out. I'm curious if these pitchers are working on ways to conceal it now, because I think the biggest issue is not them being able to find it. I think it's probably pretty easy to conceal, maybe on the inside of a belt or something, somewhere where they can't just easily look. I think the issue is, well, when they look at your fingertips and there's pine tar or the baseball. So I'm thinking, maybe they've already got something where they can, like, wipe it off their fingertips in case they need to get checked. Like, I would only imagine if you know that MLB, if say you're doing something that's illegal, and you hear from the organization, we're going to be doing these things to crack down on it, you're probably thinking about how to avoid those things. So I'm guessing they're probably on top of it at this point. And they're working around the clock to figure that out. Right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't know. There's so many things. I don't know. For some reason, this came into my mind. You know how these players have like cards inside their hats? I've seen pitchers look at them to see where they're pitching this guy. You stick your card with a little bit of substance to the inside of your hat. You take out the card. Oh, too bad. I found some substance here. I'm gonna put it on my fingers. And then the guy comes out. There's this little rough patch on my jersey. I'm gonna wipe it off on. But the only thing I consider is that if it's on the baseball, you're in trouble, right? Because there's no way to get around it. You can't, it's like you have to throw the ball to the catcher. And I mean, unless the catcher's grabbing the ball, wiping it on his sleeve, and handing it to the umpire, that's going to be the only way to get caught. I'm sure these guys are smart enough to know how to not get caught on the mound.
That made me wonder, what if, and I don't know why I'm giving ideas out on how we could cheat, but like, what if the catcher had the substance and applied it to the baseball upon throwing it back?
Asher and I are professionals at this today.
I'm just saying that could be a pretty good idea because you don't check the catcher.
Exactly. Oh, I have not considered this.
Okay, this could be a whole rabbit hole, but what we're saying is, if we're coming up with ideas in about a 5-minute period, I'm pretty sure these major league pitchers have some pretty good ideas of how to hide the substance, and that's why I don't think the crackdown will be that successful.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if for some reason on opening day you have all these great pitchers starting and you find 50 baseballs with a bunch of pine tar on it, who are you going to suspend? Every single ace across the league?
Exactly.
Okay, do it then.
Exactly.
Like, you're not going to do it.
I mean, that's exactly right, because when you can't, if every single player in baseball was using steroids, you can't suspend the entire league.
Okay, but that's a whole other story. Steroids are going to be a whole other story, I think.
But I'm saying, just as an even
example, that's true.
A more extreme example, if you had every single hitter using steroids, you'd have to just pick a few and make an example out of them. And that would cause some backlash. And, it's just a hairy road for the MLB to go down. I wish them the best of luck. I just wish Rob Manfred the best of luck. But at this point, it doesn't look like he's on a path to a successful mission here. I wish him luck, though.
Yeah, I wish him luck, too. I just think this is going to end up embarrassing him, like completely embarrassing him. Because you don't want to suspend Bauer, but then you suspend the fourth dude in the Orioles rotation that has a 4.5 ERA anyway. You make an example out of him, you suspend him 30 games. Okay, you're still not going to suspend Bauer, and you suspended somebody who doesn't even benefit from cheating necessarily. He's in the major leagues because he can cheat, but that's it.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. We'll be watching the spin rates. Expect them to keep rising. Until opening day, we'll keep coming out with some videos, and then once baseball season starts,
7 days.
We will be ramping it up. We are very excited. A lot of stuff will be getting covered once that happens. Make sure you check out our Instagram. Please subscribe, share it with your friends, leave a like and a comment, and we'll see you guys next time.